He threw that patch on, make it look like he was in a club, but he was never in a club.
They want to be able to tack like 15 felonies upon jaywalking across the street. This outlaw motorcycle member was, and it doesn't matter what they stack on you.
Because they're a friend or they know somebody and they start hanging them around and making them an official hang around. Next thing you know, they're prospecting. Before you know it, they got a patch. And I'm going, you've never been in a club.
His dad was a bandito. He borrowed $100 from the club. It might have been 1,000. I don't know. But his own son was 86.
I think it was from that point on, I was like, one day, I'm going to be one of those guys.
And he said, if you don't get on a stand, you're going to lose. You're going to jail. I said, I can't take the stand.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Repo, Rod, and PeeWee.
So, I mean, so many things. And then another guy just flipped a 4x4, flew out the back of a pickup truck. He ran it over and he flipped. We ran up to his old lady. She's laying there, not a scratch on her, bro. Not a bruise, not a drop of blood. I said, hey, I wouldn't take her helmet off because you don't know what's wrong with her. She was laying there unconscious. I checked her neck. There was no pulse. She was dead. I said, don't pick her up, man. Even though I'm not getting a pulse, don't pick her up. When the paramedics got there and they lifted her up and they put her in there, they said what happened, bro, is when the bike flipped over, she broke the stem in the back of your head. You know what I'm talking about? At the bottom of your skull? Instantly killed her, yeah.
Instant. Yep.
She didn't have a scratch on her.
Not a scratch, bro. Not even a drop of blood on her face. Nothing. Yeah. She had a full face helmet on.
The impact from hitting with the helmet?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. It could have been. He didn't like go head over heels like Kevin did. He just hit the board and the bike went sideways. It just flipped once and it threw her. It didn't even look like a big deal, bro. That's why when he got up, he says, hey, you okay? And she's just laying there. And we all ran up to her and she was gone.
Wow.
Well, hell, PeeWee, you had a guy on a run into the back of you.
Yeah. When I first got out of prison, we were coming down to where I live now. And we were coming down on the bikes. This guy named Joe, he used to be a prospect for us. He didn't make it. He was on a buddy of mine. I borrowed a buddy of mine's bike so he could ride. We were leaving, where the hell was it? I'm trying to think of it, in Texas, the top part of Texas.
El Paso?
Not El Paso. No, it was the top of Texas, man. Right where you're going to Oklahoma. I'm trying to think.
But you had left Vegas originally, didn't you? Heading that way?
Yeah, we left Las Vegas. But I should have knew something was up with this guy, Bill. We're at the hotel before we left. And I says to him, you all right? And he goes, oh, my back's killed me, man. I'm going to take a couple ibuprofens. I looked at his hand.
Amarillo, Texas?
Amarillo. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I looked at his hand, and he had 2 pills in his hand.
Oxycontins.
Right. Well, hey, I'm not a dummy. I'm not smart enough to tell you what kind of pill it is, but I can honestly tell you I'm not stupid enough to know a little tiny round pill is not a big ibuprofen. You know how big those are? They're like big capsules.
Yeah.
So when he says to me, I'm taking a couple ibuprofens, and I said, where? And he goes, right here. I said, they don't look like ibuprofens to me. Well, then we blast off, and we get down the road. We pull in a rest area. Everybody had to take a piss and stuff, right?
Yeah. We
walked up there, and he walks up, and he says, hey, man, we got time. I got to take a shit. And I said, go ahead. Hurry up. We'll be waiting for you. So we go out. We get on the bikes. We're waiting. I'm like, man, what the hell is with this guy? I'm getting all pissed off and shit, right? I go inside, and because I'm 6'8", you know, and I pretty much I could walk over, look over the top of the stall at you. You're in there jerking off. I'm going to see you. You know what I mean, bro?
Passed out in there, right?
Yeah, he's
Nodded
passed out. So I look in there and I says, "Hey, you son of a bitch!" And he wakes up, and I said, "We're out here waiting for you, and you're sleeping." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. And he, you know, he finishes up his work, and I said, "Let's get going." So we get out, we jump on the bikes, and I'm up front riding with Tomas. And we're riding, and I'm watching this son of a bitch, and he keeps like flying up behind me. Then he dropped back about a mile behind me. Then he comes flying up again, catch me. And then he dropped back about 4 or 5 blocks behind me. I turned over, I looked over at Thomas, and I said, "I think this son of a bitch is falling asleep on the bike." Because he kept speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. Well, what happened was the pills kicked in. They were morphine pills. Yeah, morphine. That'll put you to sleep, bro.
Yeah.
It's nodding out on the bike.
Right. He's behind me, and his head goes back. And when his head went back, he turned, you know, his head, turned the throttle. I'm riding my bike, and all these cones bring us down the one lane. Just as we're crossing over the bridge, it says, "Welcome to Oklahoma." And the way station's right there. Well, everything was slowing down because all the trucks were slowing down to go into the way station. And it was only one lane of traffic. So I get in there, man. I'm trying to stay ahead of this bastard, and he comes flying. He hits me at 80 miles an hour. And he had a 21-inch tire on the front of the bike, so it wedged in between my saddlebag and my fender. And the bike leaned to the left. He flew off and went rolling down the highway like 100 miles an hour. I didn't give a fuck about him. All I cared about was the bike I borrowed from my friend that the fucker was on. And then the bike broke my saddlebag off, and the bike hit the ground, and all I saw tumbling down the road, pieces flying off of it. And I just want to say it to you like this, bro. The guy I borrowed the bike from was not a guy that you mess around with, you know? You don't do shit like that. And the last thing he said to me was this: "PeeWee, take care of my baby for me," because he didn't ride. He was an older gentleman. Guys, you're used to interviewing, Billy. Do you know? You read in between the lines?
Yeah.
Guys, you interview a lot. Yeah. Just got guys like that. And he said, "Take care of my baby." All he had was liability insurance on it because it sat in his garage. And it just fucking rolled down the highway, busting into a million pieces. Well, you know, I pull off the side of the road, and I put my kickstand down. My saddlebag's ripped off. My fender's pushed up against my tire. You know, I just reached down like King Kong Bundy, and I just ripped the fender right up in the air off of my tire. And I'm pissed, bro. I'm pissed. I walked over. I looked at the bike. I was so angry, bro. I walked over. Joe's laying on the ground, on the asphalt. Now, you know it had to be hot, bro. It was scorching hot out. All he had on was a wife beater. Okay?
Yeah.
He was all road rash. 100% road rash, bro. There was no skin showing. He had a bone sticking out of his wrist, and he had a bone sticking out of his leg. I walked up to him, and all these truck drivers are standing there. And he goes, "I'm burning up. I'm burning up. I'm burning up." It was because all the skin was off of him, and he was burning. And I walked up, and he's laying there, and I'm just standing there staring at him. And all these truck drivers are looking at me. And he looks up, and he goes, "I'm sorry, PeeWee, I'm sorry." And I yelled as loud as I could, bro. fuck you, Joe. Fuck you. And all wow. This guy's got no heart. No, Joe
I would
Laner
have
with
fucking
bones
kicked
sticking
him.
out. Oh, I wanted to kick him in the face, bro.
He don't feel the bones sticking out. Anyway.
I would have kicked him. I don't care about the bones sticking out. I would have still kicked him.
Oh. I felt like grabbing one of the bones and shoving it back in his arm. So I had to walk back, you know, and then I'm standing by my bike, and the state trooper walks up to me, and I still had that tattoo on the side of my neck where it said Hell's Angels on my neck. I covered it up so people didn't think I was one of those guys anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Too embarrassing. So he walks up to me, he sees my neck, and he says, "Hey, are you a gang member?" And I said, "No." "Are you?" And he says, "No, but you are." And I said, "Who says I am?" He says, "Your neck. It says it right on your neck." I said, "Where on my neck does it say I'm a gang member?" And he goes, "Right there." And he points to it. And I said, "That's a club I used to be in, man. I'm not in it anymore. You don't see me wearing a patch, do you?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Then I'm not in it anymore." Just like, you know, you quit the force. Do you think people are still going to run by you and call you a pig? I said, "You're not a pig anymore." And he goes, "Well, we don't like being called pigs anyway." I said, "Well, I don't like being called a gang member."
Well, he still
And then
is
he
a pig. Oh, right.
Right. Then he points to Tomas. He points to Tomas. And he's got, you know, he's got a big AFFA on his arm, which just crosses through the A. And then he had a big death head on his arm right here with a big X through it. And he says, "Is that guy a gang member?" And I said, "I don't know, man. Why don't you fucking ask him?" So he walks away. And he goes out there. I see Tomas screaming at him, because he's from Sweden, right, bro? So he has a really strong accent like that. He's like, "Oh, son of a bitch, I tell you nothing, you fucking." You know, the guy was like freaking out. So I tell him, I had a bungee cord my saddlebag the back of my motorcycle. And my bike still ran. I told you I pulled the fender out. So I said, "Let's go, man." I started up the bike. I said, "Let's finish this trip." Well, Joel was already airlifted out of there. And the wrecker already came and picked up the motorcycle, which I had to pay for to get out. So we went and came to the town I live in. And when we got here, I had to pay guy, no bullshit, bro, $2,000 to drive from here to Oklahoma, pick up the bike, and then head back to Vegas. Then, when I got back to Vegas, I had to pay $7,000 to get the bike fixed for that certain gentleman I was telling you about.
Well, did you tell him about the wreck, and how did you tell him?
I told him just the way I told you, bro, and you know what? Sad to say, Billy, him and I were very close. You know, very close. And I told you he raised all that money for me when I went to prison, and he helped me out when I was in prison. You know, he did a lot for me, bro. And when that happened, our friendship was never the same. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he called me every day. "You want to go to lunch? Want to go to lunch? I'm buying. Come on, we're going to lunch." No, I said, he goes, "Come on, go to lunch with me." And I go meet him for lunch every day. We'd sit and just kick it, you know? And that stopped happening. And now I see him now and then. He comes over, he gives me a little hug. "Hey, how you doing?" It's like, "Hi, goodbye. Hey, Billy, how you doing? See ya." He was telling me, "I'm going to come out and visit you. I'm going to come out." Well, I've been here 6 years. He hasn't been here once. You know, he ain't coming.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I really miss that friendship. I really do. And I went to Joel's house and I said, "You're gonna help pay for this. You're gonna help pay for this shit, bro. I'm paying for everything, and you're the dickhead who crashed the bike." So his bike was in the garage. The only reason he wasn't riding it, bro, because the carburetor started it on fire, and it burnt the tank up and all the wires under the tank, so the bike wasn't running. But he had a 6-speed in it, had like a 103-inch motor in it. The bike was all black. You know, it wasn't a bad looking bike. It just had the burn mark on it.
Yeah.
So I just went over there. You know me, bro. I just went over and said, "Thanks for the bike."